Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Empowerment Project podcast with Andrea Bosco and Dr. Shar Ray. I am Andrea Bosco.
And I'm Dr. Shar.
So great to have you here. So, this past weekend, the lovely and talented Dr. Shar celebrated a birthday. So, I want to know, how did it go? How was your birthday?
Oh, that's a loaded question. Do you really want to know? Do you really want to know?
I do. I definitely want to know because I know, in knowing you for quite a while now, that birthdays have been not always your favorite time of year.
No.
Um, and I think it's a good time to reflect. And I'd love to know how were your feelings for the
Um,
day?
well, I think it's really interesting because I find that my birthday is like my new year, right? So there's a lot of reflection on what has happened over the course of the year. And how I've grown in every aspect of my life. But you're right. I'm not really fond of my birthday. I mean, if I could scratch out January 19th from the calendar, I would. Because there's so much stress and anxiety building up to it. And then January 20th, I feel like I can breathe again. And like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I was so grateful with all the beautiful birthday messages that came through. I heard from really unexpected individuals, and the messaging was so kind. And, they were, I mean, I know even your message, about how I've impacted you and your life. And, I feel the same way for a lot of these people. I mean, they've impacted my life in such a beautiful way. And just for them to, even recognize that I've had that kind of impact on them. I mean, that really truly was the gift of,
Mhm.
my birthday. And so um, I started the day with yoga. So the kids are like, "Oh, what are we doing for your birthday?" I said, "Well, I don't know what you guys are doing, but I'm going to yoga at 9." So I went to yoga, and I lay down on the mat. And of course, the only thing that's coming to my head is like, "Oh my God, it's my birthday. I have to face the world when I leave here. Like, I hate my birthday." Like, everything is coming, like everything and every reason why I don't like this day for myself. And I cried in yoga. So lying on our mats, just waiting for, our class to start. And thank God it's hot yoga, right? Because no one knows if you're sweating or if you're crying,
Or if
right?
you're crying, I know.
So God bless these hot classes, right? And I started crying. And so I've recently learned that when pain shows up, it is actually the gift, right? So
Mhm.
pain was showing up for me, and it was a gift that was being presented to me. And when I lay there and I started opening up this gift, right? Like, so in my head, I'm like opening up, unwrapping this gift. It was the gift of deserving and worthiness. So
Mhm.
my birthday always makes me feel like I am not deserving or worthy of attention, focus, and to be celebrated. And
Mm.
I know, again, everybody's different. And I know there's some people that love their birthdays and they love celebrating and talking to people about it. And I think that's amazing. Like, I'm almost envious of people that feel so good and confident about, celebrating themselves. But I have such a hard time doing that. So then I sat with that. And so I sat with that feeling of why? Why do I feel like I don't deserve and I'm not worthy of being celebrated? Like, it's so uncomfortable for me for people to put their attention on me. I mean, and even Andrea, when we were doing this podcast originally, I was the one that was like, "Yeah, sorry, I can't put myself out there." And you're the one that kind of slapped me straight saying, "Too bad, like, get over yourself." So, and sometimes those types of lessons are really good because, of course, I didn't want to hold you back. We're in this together. But what started happening was I started again recognizing some of these old wounds that showed up. Like, so this is just trauma that's that I experienced as a child. And listen, I am not mad at anybody. I'm not angry with anybody. I have come to terms with what my childhood was like and who was in it, because they were all teachers for me, right? Like they were, right? Your opponent is going to show up at the exact time that you're ready for it to show up. So in this case, I guess it would have been my feelings of worthiness and value and deservingness, right? That showed up for me again on my birthday. But and I'm not mad at anyone or for anything that's happened in my childhood. I've actually worked through a lot of that stuff through forgiveness, and I'm good with everybody. However, there were moments in my childhood that made me feel like that. And my birthday was one time. One time
Mhm.
there where I never got the birthday cake of my choice. It was always the choice of what someone else wanted. So that was
Mhm.
a big thing for me, right? Like, so I wasn't worthy or deserving of my feelings and my choices on my birthday. And so that didn't just happen one time, that happened every year. So, you start realizing, and then it becomes automatic. You're like, oh, okay, we're just going to go get a birthday cake that I don't want for my birthday so everyone else can enjoy it. Like, so that was one thing, right? I know. And I know that's really like when I tell people this story, they're like, what, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, but I'm okay with that. But again, what happens is, even though I feel like I've dealt with a lot of these feelings, a lot of this stuff is deep rooted for many. And what happens is it's like peeling the layer of an onion. Like it's just going to show up for you when the time is right. And you're able to sift through part of it, and then it settles. And then when you grow, there's another part of it that can show up for you to heal on a deeper level. So I feel like that is what happened for me. And so, when I came home from yoga, my kids and my husband are like, okay, well, what are we doing for your birthday? What do you want to do? And I'm like, I just want to have a normal day. Like, I don't want any fuss or muss. I said, I know that we're, ordering, what I want to eat, and you guys got a cake for me, and that's so great. But I just need it to be a normal day. Like, I wasn't ready for the spotlight to be on me, because I was still working through some of my own emotions and some of my stuff. So it was a really normal day. Like, I cooked, and I know people are like, oh my God, you cooked on your birthday. I did. But for me, that felt normal. And it was beautiful because everybody helped in the family, because I like to batch cook and I'd like to prepare for the week. And, a part of me in my head is like, okay, if I take the day off now, I'm going to have a week of stress, like meal planning, or I
Mhm.
can just take the couple of hours and everyone wants to help, and I can be done and enjoy the rest of my day relaxing and journaling and reflecting. Because for me, that's what I love to do. Like, I love to just sit with me, because again, it's like I'd like to see what my growth is and what I'm going to focus on for the upcoming year. So it was really beautiful. The day was great. It was very normal. I worked through a lot of that stuff, but it got me thinking about worthiness. It got me thinking about deservingness, and I started recognizing that this isn't just me. Like, mine shows up on my birthday, but how many times in a day, in a year, does it show up for other people in different circumstances? So, for
Mhm.
example, um, are you deserving, or do you feel worthy of a loving relationship? Are you deserving and feel worthy of your ultimate dream job? Are you deserving and worthy to have, the health and wealth and the abundance in your life? And I find that that's what stops us. Like, deep down somewhere, we don't have that ability to accept those things that we want, because somewhere we feel like we don't deserve it. So that's what I just started realizing. And I thought, well, what a great conversation to have today, because when I think about my friend circle, for example, I know it showed up in different ways.
Mhm.
It's like, I hate to say it this way, but the same pile of shit, but it just smells different, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it's the same thing for everybody, and it's showing up in different ways. And so, as I was going through my own thing, right, and like, obviously the wheels are turning and the tears are flowing, and the poor pen and the journal, like the abuse that they took on my birthday. But it also made me realize that everyone goes through something that maybe triggers this response for them, but it doesn't have to define who they are. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's
Mhm.
going to shape you, but it's not going to define you. It shouldn't define you, right? And so, anyways, that's what it really got me
Yeah.
thinking. Like, what aspects are we feeling in our life where we don't feel like we deserve or we're worthy of having them?
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is looking at and understanding the conditioning that occurs at a young age that forms these ideas about ourselves, right?
Mhm,
So when you're telling me about your early childhood birthdays, right? And maybe for most people it was a celebratory time. It's all the focus is on you. I mean, I think I definitely felt that way on my birthday. I'm born in July. It was summertime and
mhm,
it was always like well, not pool party, like sprinkler parties and cake and ice cream. And it was always a fun. I was usually in Montreal because my family's from there and we would spend summers there. So I had cousins. I never really had like my school friends around until I got older, of course, because I wasn't in Toronto. But so for most of us, it's this celebratory time, but for you, it was not. And for many listening, maybe it wasn't for you either. And it's asking, like, well, what created that conditioning? And then, so for you, I hear, you couldn't even pick your own cake, right? Because you had to choose a cake that other people liked.
mhm,
And so now, as you move forward in life, that plays out in how you interact, right? It's this, well, let me give everything of myself to others to please them. And I know we talked about this pleasing and people pleasing in our lives. And that because I'm not worthy of happiness unless, so it's like a
mhm,
conditional thing, right? Like
mhm,
I'm not worthy of happiness unless other people are also happy or um what's the word? Like they're pleased,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
Um so and it's interesting because this just came to mind. So my husband's born on Shar's birthday. I
Uh-huh.
have a husband and I have a work wife born on the same day. And it's interesting that you just said that because Peter can have the very same tendencies like that to
Mhm,
the point where I wanted to make him his favorite dessert, which is tiramisu, and it ended up not being enough time. I couldn't make it. And so I said, "Okay, well, let me go out and get an ice cream cake because he likes ice cream cake." And I said, "What flavor do you want?" He's like, "Well, ask the kids what they like." And I said, "Don't worry about what the kids like. It's your birthday. What do you want?" He's like, "I don't know. Like, no, just ask Isabella. What does she want?" And I'm like, so I went over and I said, "Dad, I'm getting a cake for Dad." I'm like, "But just I know, just tell me the one that you think he'll like." So she told me cuz and then I told him, "Okay, Isabella wants this one. That's the one we're getting." But so it's interesting, like I wonder it's and I know we talk astrology and all this and I wonder if it's like Capricorn thing
mhm,
or I don't know what it is, um but I also think Peter grew up in a very big family. He's one of 7 children. His sister is born a few weeks away, and his dad actually today would be his dad's birthday. Um, so he said he always shared a cake with
mhm,
his
mhm,
dad and
mhm,
his sister.
mhm, mhm,
And it was always like especially for because it was his older sister, so it would be like pink and purple, and he, couldn't get like the
Mhm.
hockey themed cake that he wanted. So
Mhm.
interesting, right? Like how these early childhood experiences can start to shape the way we experience life as adults. And
Yeah.
so, how do we unravel that? How do we start to believe in our worthiness and our light to be shone, to be shined? Because, like, I fully embrace the spotlight, as you know. I'm just
Mhm.
like,
You're so good at it, and
put myself
I'm
out
so
there.
envious of that, like, that you're so comfortable, and I could learn so much from you in that respect.
Yes, I mean, I also have my unworthiness things that pop up for me, and we can get into that for sure. Um, but again, I didn't have to share it with many people. I didn't have to, like, growing up, I didn't have to feel that I wasn't deserving of celebration, or I had to share, or,
Mhm.
it wasn't about me. I mean,
Mhm.
because gosh darn it, like, let's talk about the word birthday. This is the birth of you on this earth. Why should it not be celebrated? Right?
Mhm.
We're not saying you need to, like, whatever, get into ego and, say screw everybody else in my life. Today's all about me, and everyone else can just kiss my feet. It's not about that, but it's this feeling of worthiness and deservingness that you can be celebrated. If any day, it should be on your birthday.
I remember one year, and I think I know how we can start unraveling, but I'm just gonna tell you this one story. One year on my birthday, like, again, I don't know what it is, or maybe I thought that this would get me attention, or this is just downplaying everything. I did my taxes on my birthday. My
Oh,
taxes were not fun to do, but I did my
that's
taxes.
like the most
And my
boring, like,
so
thing
my
possible.
friend's like, "It's your birthday. Why don't you go get a massage or a facial?" And I'm like, "Oh, I really felt I needed to get my taxes done." And like, and but I again, it was just like such a, like, I need to downplay everything that is this day. Like, figure
Mhm.
out every single awful thing I could possibly do to
Ah,
make this day feel like a normal day, and it's not about me, right? Except for the fact that it was my
but it's
taxes.
not a normal day. It is a special day
Right.
because you came to this planet.
I know. You're so sweet. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I so appreciate you saying that. And it's
No, and I know
true.
it's hard. Yeah.
It's hard to hear, it's hard to process it, but I'm getting better. Like, like I told you, like, these are layers. And throughout my relationship, even, like, I remember when I first, this whole thing about deserving and worthiness. I remember when I first started dating Lance, I started dating my husband, and we got married. And sometimes I'd look at him and I'd be like, so why did you decide to marry me? Like, I was so confused because, I mean, he's a great husband, he's a great father. I mean, don't get me wrong, no marriage is perfect. Like, he's imperfectly perfect, like we
Mhm.
all are. But I would sit there and I would question him, and I'd be like, can you just tell me why? Like, help me understand. Like, what are you seeing in me that I don't see? Like, I just, please help me.
Mhm.
And he would sit there and he'd roll his eyes, be like, "Frank, like, we've been married for 15 years. You're still
Yeah.
asking that question." So it was just
Yeah.
interesting, right? Because I had to do a lot of work. Like, he's been like such a huge, wow, pillar of my growth. Like it's like I know why he's my husband,
Mhm.
because he's been that, like, it's almost like God said, "Okay, listen, I need you to do some work on you, so I'm gonna bring you a pillar." And it's like a lighthouse, and the lighthouse is gonna shine that light on your soul at certain parts in your life. And when it does, it's going to irritate the crap out of you. But whatever that lighthouse is shining on you is going to make you a better person. So Lance has been that lighthouse for me. He's been
Mhm.
that pillar. And then so I've been the one it's so funny because I feel like I'm that Tasmanian devil. Like I'm trying to dodge the light, but then he catches me. And then it's like, shoot, like now he's shining light on that dark part of my soul. I have to work it out. So that's who
Mhm.
he's been for me. And so I'm so grateful for him in that regard, even though, like I said, every marriage has their trials and tribulations and ups and downs, but I can really appreciate what he has done for my growth. Like it's been insane. But what I was going to say is that, you were talking about, okay, well, what do we do about it? Well, what do we do about it when we find that we're in these moments? And I think the first thing that we have to recognize is pain is a gift. When
Mhm.
we feel that pain of anger or frustration or resentment or judgment or worthiness or deservingness or you know why doesn't someone like me, or you're trying to people please and they're not accepting it, like that is all a gift. It is
Mhm.
a painful and uncomfortable gift. Like sometimes you feel like you want to crawl out of your skin because you don't understand why you're feeling it. But I think the first thing is understanding that's a gift. Even though it feels really crappy, right? It is a gift. And
Mhm.
so then it's that acceptance part, right? Like, okay, I am going to accept, like, I'm going to just take a second and I'm going to accept what is coming in my direction. Okay.
Mhm.
So if you can recognize that whatever is showing up for you is actually showing up for you as a lesson or a learning or a teaching moment, you are going to be, it is going to be far easier for you to embrace it and be okay with it. Right.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then I think the next part of it is being grateful. Okay.
Mhm.
So I'm accepting this gift of pain. And now I am grateful for it. I'm grateful for it because whatever learning comes from it, whatever I unravel in this gift is going to help move the needle for me. It's going to move the needle for me in a more in a direction of more growth. I don't want to say positive, negative, but like in a direction of growth, because sometimes that needle flickers back and forth. And so it's going to move me in a direction of growth, right? And sometimes it's two steps forward, one step back, three steps forward, half a step back, but it's moving us generally in the state of growth. And then this is the hardest part, I think, is the forgiveness, because the reason why you're feeling angry and the reason why you're feeling frustrated or judgmental, or someone's not accepting your people pleasing, or you're feeling frustrated or whatever it is, that person is your teacher. So that person is showing up in your life at a time when you're ready to accept the lesson.
Mhm.
So and now it's your choice. Okay, so what am I going to do? Am I going to learn this lesson, or am I going to wait for it to show up in my life in a different way? So you have two choices always at that time. Like, can I forgive this person and like first of all say thank you for showing up, and then if I forgive you, because it's not about you, it's actually about me,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
that's a big one, right? So that whole forgiveness piece. And again, I know that's the hardest part because again, trauma is very different for everybody. And
Mhm.
there are stages. It's like stages of grief, there's 5 stages of grief, and there's sadness, there's denial, there's sadness, there's anger, there's that bartering, and then there's the acceptance, right, of it. And so people, when they are grieving a loss, they flick back and forth in those 5 stages. So I feel like even when you have this type of stuff happen, you can go back to, you know, being angry, and then, okay, no, I can forgive this person. No, I'm really thankful. And then you're like, oh, can I accept this? Like you can go back and forth through this process. And It's all acceptable. It's all good. As long as you can understand that something good is going to come of it,
Mhm.
right? Like something
Mhm.
good is going to come of it. So I think forgiveness is that piece where you can just say, okay. And I think it's that saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yeah.
So think about, where you have, chaos in your life. Think about where the conflict is right now. And, whether it's with yourself or with somebody else. And it's all a teaching moment for you. Like these people are showing up, or these feelings or these emotions are showing up because they're here to teach you something. And
Yeah.
then I think what happens after the forgiveness, and if you're able to get past, individuals or this hurt or trauma, you start building a lot more love for yourself. And so then
Mhm.
when you start building love for yourself, you start realizing, yeah, I am deserving and I am worthy of more of this love in my life. So that's my process. And again, remember, I've been dealing, how many birthdays have I had? I'm not going to tell you, but
Mm.
not not on not on this podcast, but I've
Mhm.
had enough birthdays to recognize that I have these lessons that continually show up, and they're constantly marking where I have been, where and how far I've come, and what I still have to work on, which is again, like I love myself more every year, which I think is so great.
Yeah, and I mean, I love how you explained sort of those stages that we could go through to get to that point of self-love. Um, I also believe that knowing we are whole and complete from the beginning, right, is a big truth to understand, because like when I started to really fully believe in that concept that I've come here from the creator, and you can call that whatever you want. You can call it universe, you can call it God, you can call it spirit, whatever you want to call it, but I've come here through unconditional loving energy, and I'm whole and I'm complete. And my role here is to also share that love back to the world, and also for myself. So, for anyone who grew up in the 90s, maybe you saw the movie Jerry Maguire, and there's a line in it. Renee Zellweger says, oh no, Tom Cruise says to Renee Zellweger, or was it the opposite? I can't remember. One of them says it to one another at the end. You complete me. And this was the biggest line of the world. Everybody was like, oh, that's so beautiful. You complete me. As if you were incomplete before you met this person.
Hmm.
And I know we've all maybe felt that way. But over time, I've changed that language. Nobody is going to complete you. They could add to your beautiful filled cup and allow it to overflow, but there's never going to be anything external from yourself that is going to complete who you are.
Hmm.
You are already whole, perfect, imperfect, worthy enough of love, of receiving love. You are love. So anything like a relationship, a job, a amount of money in your bank account is going to dictate your completeness. All those things are just going to add to it. And you hear it time and time again that people who maybe are looking for a relationship, they want to meet their soulmate. It's not until they learn to love themselves, or start to open that door to loving themselves, do they end up attracting the right person to them. Doesn't mean they're not attracting other people during that time, but it likely isn't the right person for them. It's when they finally believe in themselves and their worthiness to receive love that they can then show up and be loved. Because we can only be loved at the capacity in which we love ourselves,
Yeah. That's the
bottom
big one.
line,
And I think
right?
the other thing too is to remember, like, this is a journey, not a destination. We hear that all the time, right?
Yeah.
Um, because even for me, and I know for you, we've come a long way. Like when you think about how, when we met and some of the issues and some of the discussions we've had, we've come a long way, but by no means is it done. Like,
No.
again, like this is a deep layer that's showing up for me. And I felt like I've dealt with it already in so many years. So just imagine what's happening for other people. And just to remember, like this goes on forever. You just get better at picking up on the lessons quicker and walking through the healing so much quicker.
Exactly, exactly. It's not about finishing it and being like, "Yay, now I love myself so much and I feel
Mhm,
so deserving all the time."
mhm,
Because that's a tough thing to get to or even to expect, right? We
mhm.
have to drop that expectation. It is a work in progress, but like any practice, it gets easier as we go.
Yeah.
And, this level of confidence that I have now was not always at this level, right? And as you said, it's taken time to grow. And I have my days of
Mhm,
feeling unworthy. I have my days where I feel the imposter syndrome coming up and who am I to
mhm,
do this work or who am I to, share my knowledge with people. But it's that realization and that awareness that, okay, I'm going into self sabotage, I'm going into unworthiness. What can I do
mhm.
to change language, to
Or
move
why
my
is it coming up
body?
for you? Like,
Or
why is it
why is it,
showing up?
yeah, why is it showing up? Where's this coming from?
Yeah,
Can I learn from this experience and instead of just continuing to bury it and
yeah,
bury it and burying it and bury it, so then it sort of explodes when you're triggered, whether it's a birthday or whatever, it just
yeah.
explodes. So
And it's our belief system, right? Like again, like
mhm,
you were saying, like what do we believe? What have we seen? What has been programmed for us at young ages that we grow up and become these adults that are still having all of that show up for us, right? That inner
mhm,
child that's like just dying to be loved and to be seen, right?
mhm,
And then that shows up in adulthood in so many different ways, right? And why maybe a relationship doesn't work out, or why you end up picking the same partner over and over again, or why you just can't seem to get that dream job, or it goes to somebody else and you've interviewed for a similar position in so many places. Like it shows up in it, and that's the thing I think too we have to remember is that if it is constantly showing up for you, you're not done with the work, right? Like for me,
mhm,
for example, like I have done a lot of work, but it's still showing up. A deep layer popped up. And again, here I am dealing with it, right?
mhm. But
So I
like you
think
said, each year it's getting better. You're
totally.
learning how to ask for what you need on your birthday. You're learning how to accept the love and admiration that everyone has for you.
Hmm.
And yeah, like, I mean, childhood trauma, it's deep rooted. It's not an overnight fix and
Hmm.
by any means. And it's a process. It's a
Hmm.
journey, like you said.
And I think that and again, I feel like the people that come into your life are such huge markers for your evolutionary process, your journey, if you will. And that includes not just your parents or your siblings and your husband, but your kids as well, right? Like you think
Mhm,
about your kids and what they trigger in you, right? Like
mhm,
what are they triggering you? What is it that you've like when they say something to you, what is bothering you about what they've said or the way that they're behaving? And like again, turn the mirror on you, right? Because kids are kids, right? They're going to not listen. They're going to want to test the boundaries and all of those types of things that we know because obviously between the both of us we've got these five children, and but it's like asking yourself, okay, what's it bringing up from me,
Yeah,
and why?
exactly. And why? And
Mhm.
why? Yeah, exactly. So I really admire you, Shar, for sharing this vulnerable place and feelings. And I'll have you know, listeners, that it wasn't even my idea to talk about it. It was Shar's idea. So I congratulate you because I know how far you've come in the sharing of yourself, but knowing how much it's helping other people is a beautiful thing because I'm sure anyone listening can relate to those same feelings, whether it's exact or little bits and pieces. So that's why we're doing this. That's why we're here sharing every week on this podcast, sharing our stories, our experiences, so that maybe it could help you all along the way. And then also share it with other people too. So we thank you. We thank
Yeah.
you for being here.
Well, yeah, and thank you for saying that. It was hard, but I would never have shared this, I don't think, any other year, but it's time.
Mhm.
It's
It
time.
is time.
Yeah, you're right. Who knows who needs to hear this, but I knew it was time for me to share, and I felt comfortable enough to share it. So, yay to growth for me, because that
Yes.
wouldn't have happened last year. So, it's good.
100%. Yes, yes, yes. So proud of you. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Let us know if there's anything you want us to talk about in particular. We will hear from you or see you next Tuesday. Have a
Take
great
care,
day.
everyone. Bye, everyone.